Hi everyone, this is Killshot 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Rick Grimes Countdown, Love and Hate. This is the second week of doing this. We had a lot of fun doing this one last week at 11 o'clock. Appreciate all of you guys making time. Last week it was Rick and Beta. We only have a few more episodes left of Rick, so we're going to have to enjoy it, and we're going to talk about how some of the other characters that have been a part of Rick's life for a long time are going to impact his final episodes, and there is a subplot brewing, and it is Michonne and Maggie. You can see it. You can see the interaction, the standoff, a lot of stuff going down. We're going to talk about some different elements of what we love and what we hate about each character, and then how we could see that leadership actually starting to transition over. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all you guys being here. It's good. Good Sunday morning. A lot of good stuff going on with. Are we officially calling this Walking Dead Day? I think it's just it's all over the place now. Everybody's getting up early doing videos and talking about The Walking Dead. I saw several in my recommended, and we've got a countdown coming tonight. Those of you that are pretty new to our channel, 8 o'clock tonight, we'll do a Walking Dead countdown. I do have to say, this week's episode, I threw the gauntlet down a few days ago and said, I think tonight's episode is going to be one of the best Walking Dead episodes that you'll ever see. I think it's definitely going to be up there in your top 5. I've read the spoilers, seen some of the information that's out there, and I do think that this is going to have all the elements of the show that I love. I know it's going to have some mystery. It's going to have, we're not going to talk spoilers in this particular segment because I know a lot of people tune in early in the morning. We are going to talk about some common knowledge things, some things that are out there in teasers and such. But in tonight's episode, we will talk a little bit more in the countdown, and of course in the reaction video that we will do after The Walking Dead. We will be competing with Talking Dead as well. So still trying to iron that out. I think we'll probably do a shorter reaction segment, but stay tuned for that posting. And of course, all during the week, we're going to get right into it. So thanks everybody. Appreciate all the good stuff you guys are saying this morning. And let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about Michonne's character and how we see that transition. A couple seasons ago, I could not see Michonne taking over a leadership role. There were just so many people, jumping in there, and she was content just to kind of do whatever in the background, fight when needed, step up to the plate. But with Rick leaving, and not only with Rick leaving, I think with Rick looking more globally and thinking about all the communities, that Michonne really can step up and be the voice of reason. Rick is, you've heard the cliche, I guess you can't see the forest because of the trees. Well, Rick is probably looking at the forest. He's looking at everything, and he's not taking care of the things that are directly right in front of him. Michonne sees these relationships. As Daryl said, when it was small, it was important. Michonne has the ability to see what's important to Daryl. She can see how Rick is changing, the famous Rick Grimes. She can see how Maggie is abusing her leadership. And I think that's going to be one of the common themes tonight. You've seen a little bit of the dialogue, not trying to spoil it, but there will be more words between Michonne and Maggie. And I really like the fact that Maggie is definitely leading with force. Michonne has the ability to lead with force, but she's not going to do it unless she's absolutely, her back's against the wall and she has no other decision. So I'm going to... you got the two characters up on the screen, so I'm going to throw it up. Keep in mind, these videos are not just about my thoughts. You are a living part of this video. You make it, you decide the direction, so your comments, your participation, we will jump around a little bit and get you involved in this. So it is somewhat scripted, but you can definitely change the dynamic. So the first thing I want to ask is, what have you seen in Michonne in the first episode and what you've heard from the teasers and maybe a little bit of spoilers that you're looking forward to most? And as you guys are typing and getting ready to read a couple comments, I do want to say thank you to a brand new patron that just added a couple days ago, and that is Regina Griffith. Thank you so much, Regina. Appreciate you being a part of that. And you can see Vicky Jack, Regina, last couple days. Welcome to the team. And Valar super chatting as well. What's up, Valar? Good to see you. Says good morning. 99 Army Kill, Steph, Emmy Kell, Sweet Tommy, sponsors, patrons, and of course all the super chatters. So Mike says, I think Michonne is capable of leadership, but she is more of the voice of reason. Mike, do you think she's always been capable of stepping up, or do you think that that's something that she's gradually, because she has been watching in the wings and not making the mistakes, do you think she's kind of learned from other people's mistakes, or she was just waiting for her moment to step in and do it because other people have proved that They're not very good leaders, to be perfectly honest. I mean, they have led. And I'm talking about Rick as well. And I know a lot of you won't agree with this. I do not see Rick as a great leader. I see Rick as a leader. I see Rick as doing what he thought was best. But Rick's made a lot of mistakes along the way. He's learned from some of them. And I think it doesn't mean I don't like Rick being in that role. I like some of Rick's mistakes, and I think it keeps the show fresh and it keeps it human. But at the same time, do I think he's the perfect leader? You know, is he in tune with all his people? I do not. But that's just my personal thought. As I said, these videos are not just made of my personal thoughts. They're made of all of our thoughts. Lenore Smith says she was always capable, but just didn't step up until it was needed. And Lenore, I guess, is that, should she have stepped up a little bit sooner? I mean, would we have maybe a few characters? They might have been a little bit more prepared if they had a little better leadership. They might not have made those mistakes. I mean, could Michonne stepped up and said, Rick, no, we're not going into that satellite location and kill all these men for Gregory. Basically, they were working for Gregory. Isn't that weird? That without too much proof. I mean, there was a little bit. But Rick is just like, yep, we need food. We will go out and we will take care of Negan. And then you'll make the new deal with us. Big Yanni, thank you so much. First time chatting. Appreciate you being here. So Walking Dead Nerd says, I think Michonne is capable. I think Carl dying is making her step up. So her experiences and her most recent experiences is what's given her that boost. So I would argue that, and this is why I tied this in, I don't think Michonne was capable of being the leader back when Rick decided to go kill Negan. I think she needed a little bit more, I guess, seasoning or a little bit more experience, or other people's failures really created that dynamic, because I do like where her character is right now. I think her character's in a great place. Jacqueline Kuhn says, Keels, do you think Michonne is becoming the moral compass of the group? And if so, she could possibly die this season with her katana. No, I don't, Jacqueline. Let me go back through a little bit of a history of Michonne and why I think I've had a good read on Michonne's character. Maybe even more than most. Because a couple of years ago when I talked about the potential for Michonne dying, I got absolutely abused. I got called every name in the world. You don't want Michonne to live on the show because she's a woman. You don't want her to live on the show because she is African American. Believe me, as a person who does live streams, and I know how passionate the audience is, when I even discussed the possibility of Michonne leaving the show, there were a lot of people that just came at me. And I think I have a good pulse of Michonne, and I never wanted Michonne to leave the show. I want to be clear with that. But the way they wrote her character, I didn't think that she could take over the group. But the way I see them writing the character now, she's always been a phenomenal actor and also been phenomenal in the role that they gave her. But it's different this year. It's different hearing her voice. It's different seeing her dialogue compared to other people. Now, some of the other characters are being written to extremes too, and they're keeping her kind of as that level set. So you can step up, and if they would have done that with Maggie, Maggie could step up. If they would have done that with, where's Pete D? With Tara, Tara could step up. The writers do control the leadership ability that's out there. But having Maggie extreme left and having Rick look like extreme right now, and Michonne sitting right in the middle, definitely glorifies her character a little bit more. So, good morning. I see Mel in the house. Thank you, Mel. Never too early to talk about The Walking Dead. Depending on where you're located. Now, you could be located in a place that could be like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. But we're assuming you're on this side of the hemisphere, so it shouldn't be too early. Tonight, I think you'll see, and once again, we're not going to spoil it in this stream, but when Michonne continues to talk about she's not comfortable with what Maggie's doing, she didn't stop it, but she also is going to try to affect her based on what she knows about Maggie. She's going to talk about it. She's probably going to plant some of those emotional seeds as well. Like, this is not the you that we're comfortable with. This is a little bit different. You know, why is this? She's going to get her to open up a little bit more as we go along. And I think that's a nice play. Now, we know she can always pull out the katana and take care of whoever she wants to take care of. But to me, that's what true leadership is. And as we know, with the countdown, there's one more thing that is absolutely going to harden Michonne and toughen her beyond there, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of coming back. And that is Rick death, Rick exit. And Maggie's involvement in that. And if Maggie even indirectly gets Rick killed, I want to throw this out to the group right now. What is Michonne's reaction? I'm not saying it has to be Maggie trying to kill Negan and Rick dies because of that. But if Maggie is even remotely possible, like, well, Rick would not have died if you wouldn't have come over, if you wouldn't have did this. And like I said, there's a lot of different potential scenarios. How does she react? Vengeance? Old Salt's a good point. You know, is Michonne going to, will she have the same level head she has right now? And Julie, I'm feeling two different scenarios for Maggie. Mel says want to kill her but can't, and I think it's a great point. If Maggie is indirectly involved in the death of Rick, I don't think forgiveness. I think you got to leave. Somebody else has to take over. Can Michonne control that rage? And with Angela leading the show, and we know that there's going to be a lot more female empowerment. I mean, she said exactly that. Showing all the positives of Michonne, like, I can be vengeful, I can be loving, I can take over, and I don't have to forgive her. Or I can forgive her, but I can't allow you to stay here. Michonne taking the gauntlet from Maggie, I think, is huge. And I do think the audience would embrace that. So we've talked about, and we talked about Negan being able to step up, Daryl being able to step up, Magna being able to step up. But I don't know that we've talked about Michonne as much. So do you see Michonne being able to carry over a part of Rick's leadership? That's the question I have for the group. Now, many of you are hardcore Rick Grimes fans. I'm a Rick Grimes fan. I'm not the super hardcore like the people who I'm leaving the show if Rick's not there. But I do think, as a fan, Rick's grown, and he's gone. Rick is gone. 4 more episodes, 3 more episodes after tonight. Are you willing to transition a part of your fandom to Michonne, knowing that we're not going to have Rick again? Not all of it. I'm not asking you to say Michonne's going to step up and replace him, because I don't believe that either. But can she replace a piece of him? %? I love it. Julie puts a percentage on it. Mel, I think that's a great point. It's time to back someone else, and if I trust anyone, it's her. And I think she's been out of the conversation way too much. I really do. And it's not my fault. It's not because I don't want to talk about Michonne. It's because the writers... I'm not blaming the writers. I respect the writers. But the writers have kept her in the role until they were ready to unleash her ability. And if there's another character, so which other character do you think is out there that is almost like Michonne, that will be stepping up to take a percentage of that as well? There's one other that just jumps out to me. Nope. Not yet. There you go. Maggie. I think Aaron. I think you've got Michonne and you've got Aaron. Clark says it as well. A lot of people are saying Carol. Give me a little bit of time on Carol. So now I see Michonne having all those traits and Aaron having all those traits. So now maybe we've got, between the two of them, 30% of Rick. And it'll develop. I'm just saying a small piece. And as Andrew said, your legacy lives on in the people that are left behind. So now you got Aaron, who has a little bit of the Rick look. He's got kind of the calm demeanor. Very trustworthy. Not quite as vicious as Michonne can be. But he'll grow into it. He'll transition. All right, so then after Michonne and Aaron, we've got Maggie. But we know Maggie's leaving. So we can't put a lot of faith in Maggie. So I think Maggie's character will be the springboard of misunderstanding to strengthen Michonne's character. And let me explain what I mean by that. You can't have Maggie totally hated on the show. I don't feel you can. I think they're gonna toe that line like they did with Negan. There's a lot of Maggie fans out there. There's a lot of people that understand her situation. But her popularity it's tanking. I see some of the comments today. I've seen some of the comments in previous videos. Now, they very easily could have made Maggie into a hero on the show. But because she's leaving, and because it is going to be open-ended, they want the opportunity for her to come back. So, I think an exile, or a self-imposed exile, gives us time. Because here's what we're going to need. We're going to need Maggie to come back, like Negan said, guns a-blazing. But also, I don't see Maggie as the kind of person who's going to leave before, or I don't see Maggie as the person who's going to leave during the Whisperer War. So here's the way it is going to go down. Pencil it in, write it down. This is my bold, super bold prediction. And it's been right there in front of our eyes the whole time. Michonne is comic book Andrea. Who is comic book Michonne? This season going forward. And there's one storyline that makes perfect sense. It's Maggie. And I'll tell you why. I don't know the comics line for line, but I do know this. In the comics, Maggie left because Rick would not kill... No, I'm sorry. In the comics, Michonne left for the time skip because Rick would not kill Negan. In the TV show, it appears that Maggie is going down the same path. Maggie is frustrated that Rick won't kill Negan and did not kill Negan. And we know that Maggie is leaving the show and it's open-ended. Now, in the comics, Michonne left, went on the boat trip, met Pete, met Sadiq. That could be totally different. It could be Maggie taking the time skip, leaving with Georgie, possibly the helicopter scenario. But Michonne in the comic came back to help with the Whisperer War. Maggie ultimately could come back and help with the Whisperer War when they need them. But Maggie's frustration, now, as we said before, there's a couple different scenarios that could play out. One, if Maggie's quest for vengeance with Negan gets Rick killed, that's going to be a little bit tougher to accept her back. But you know what? There are some people that thought that Daryl's actions got Glenn killed, and they didn't have any problem with it. So as long as she doesn't do it herself, I think a year from now, people will welcome Maggie back with open arms, especially a Maggie that can come in after the war looks like it's not going to be won. And Mel, you're absolutely right. At this point, killing Negan serves nothing except her quest for revenge. But every day when she sees Herschel and how she honors that grave, it is something that she can't get past. It is something she can't let go. The rest of us kind of understand it's time to let it go. Most of the people in the Hilltop and everywhere else understand it's time to let it go, except Maggie. The raw reaction she had at the end of season 8, you could see there was no doubt there was one outcome. And, you know, it's hard for us to put ourselves in that situation because we're not in that situation. So I get Maggie's character, but I also understand that, keep in mind, if Maggie was just flat out evil, then the writers have to be careful not to turn the audience completely on Maggie. Exactly. So this time skip, her leaving, going on the boat, meeting Pete, maybe Georgie is the Pete from the comic book, maybe someone in a helicopter is the Pete from the comic book. I don't know how that's going to play out. But I do think Maggie gets Michonne's time skip. It doesn't mean that in the meantime, And this is love versus hate. I think it's very easy to say we love Michonne, right? How many people love what Michonne is becoming this season? Give me a me or a yes or a love just typed in chat right now. Just want to see that there's a feel-good story happening with Michonne. And because we use the word hate, because it's the other end of the spectrum, and I don't know that everybody is there yet, how many people are starting to dislike Maggie? Her decision-making, her cutting off supplies to the sanctuary, starving the sanctuary out if she has to, in order to take care of a few people. So I didn't want to use the word hate because I know most people would have said, nope, I don't hate her. And I don't. But like Lisa says, just a little. Chris Riddle's like me. Ginseng Hunter, me. You can start to see the change, and we sympathize with what she's going through. We understand it. But we still don't have the same feeling for her that we have Michonne. And I think it's going to get a little bit worse, and a little bit worse. And the writers have to be careful not to throw us over because they're going to bring her back. It's too hard to get to a point of hatred and bring them back. They are struggling with it with Negan right now. They're going to get us back. They'll get us back, I think, understanding Negan eventually. But it's taken a lot of extra work on the writer's part. And I think with Maggie, it's going to have to be one of those things. I think Julie might have said it a little bit earlier. It might be a self-imposed exile. So look, Maggie, let's say she plots with Rick. Something happens. Rick dies. Michonne might be the person to step up and say, you can't be here anymore. I warned you. I told you we had to do it this way. We bought into the charter. You didn't buy into it. You wanted to lead your own way. You're becoming what Negan was. You need to get out. Or, and I think this is much, much more likely. Still not confirmed, but I think this is much more likely. I do still think Rick is going to sacrifice himself for Negan. And I do think that everybody's going to be able to transition except Maggie. And I think Maggie is going to be able to respect it and to understand it. But I still think she's going to say, I can't be around it. I know what Carl, and I wouldn't be surprised to even hear it out of her mouth. I wouldn't be surprised to see this scene take place between Michonne and Maggie, where Michonne talks about how they're going to lead and how they need a council and all these things. And Maggie become old Maggie, likable Maggie again, and say, Michonne, I understand everything, but I can't let it go, and therefore I have to go. And I do think that's the perfect story for her. But I think it has to happen when the groups are in a good place, because I don't see Maggie running and hiding. I don't see the whispers there and Maggie's like, hey, I'm getting out of here, going to protect my kid. I think Maggie will leave on her own terms and open up the ability where we're going to need her later. And it's like, man, if Maggie was here, that would be one extra person there fighting. If Morgan was here, there'd be an extra person fighting. Because what could bring Maggie back? There's one death in particular that has been rumored to happen this season, and I think that would be enough incentive for Maggie to come back and help. It's a rumor. It's a mild spoiler. Clark, Jesus. So, if we're connecting the dots, it's rumored, as I said, it's a strong spoiler, not confirmed yet, okay? So I don't want to spoil it for everybody. But the rumor is that Beta will kill Jesus. So if the groups are looking around, it's like, well, who's the next person up? We don't have enough. We need people to come in there. And if that happens at the end of the season and Maggie were to come back next season and really help try to win this fight, I think she'll be embraced and she'll be welcomed back. No, and also keep in mind that at that point, Herschel's probably going to be about 6 years old. So she won't be carrying baby Herschel around after the second time skip. So the way we think it's going to happen, Rick leaves in 5. Rick's not around to protect Negan any longer. Maggie's probably not going to want the temptation. Maggie is going to leave, I think, in 6. Then we'll start to get some hints, some clues, and then in the second half, the time skip might even happen in 7. It might happen in 8. But in the second half, we're going to get that time skip. So Maggie will not be there, but Herschel is going to be about 5 at that point. So he's not a helpless little child. He's still, walking. He still needs protection, but at the same time, Maggie might be able to come in and help the group at some point. And Tammy, I don't disagree with that. I don't think Maggie's evil. I do agree. But I think she's conflicted and she's becoming something that's not good for anybody there. No doubt about it. She is going to end up getting more people killed. She's going to end up not being level-headed. And look, Maggie's approach is going to get everybody killed. Here's why. Let's say Rick made it through the time skip. Maggie made it through the time skip. They don't, but let's say they did. And you've got Alexandria, Hilltop, Sanctuary, Kingdom. And Maggie's just worried about the Hilltop. If the Whisperers roll in and take out the Sanctuary, Maggie could have used those people to fight the Whisperers. And then let's just say they gain steam and then they go over and take out the Kingdom. Maggie's still feeding her people, but now the Whisperers have knocked out 2 groups. Maggie's still growing her corn, giving it to, Earl, blacksmithing, doing all the above. Maggie ain't feeding anybody else. And then the Whisperers go over and let's say they just roll over Alexandria. Not easily, but let's say they do. They got the numbers. Maggie don't care. She's still growing crops. Well, then the Whisperers have enough to go up to Hilltop and wipe out the Hilltop. So what did she really accomplish? Nothing. If Maggie has this short-sighted vision of only taking care of her people, it's wrong. She needs to be thinking like Rick thinks. She needs to be thinking about building these groups up, not only to have one army that can defend the Hilltop, but to have armies that can defend each other. The Hilltop cannot take on the Whisperers. And because Maggie is so selfish right now, regardless of whether you agree with her methods or not, she's still making bad decisions. Rick's trying to build up an army. He's trying to build up a group. Indirectly, he's trying to do it so people can work together. And if people work together, it's a lot easier for Daryl to go in and say, hey, you guys at Sanctuary, go up and help Hilltop. Hey, you guys at Hilltop, go over and do this. But Maggie's not doing that. Maggie's and it's 18 months later. We've already went through this. We've already started rebuilding, and Maggie's still only worried about Hilltop. So yes, I don't hate her, but I don't like what she's doing. And if she makes a couple more bad decisions, could I hate her? Absolutely. If she makes a decision that were to get Jesus killed or to get Aaron killed or get Michonne killed or to get Rick killed, absolutely. You should have planned it better. Because remember, here's the thing. I'm not talking about Maggie's revenge. I'm talking about the fact that Maggie wanted to be a leader. She didn't necessarily get volunteered for it. She stepped up and said, I'm taking it. Well, yeah, I mean, she did some things better than Gregory, no doubt about it. But she also wanted the role. She didn't want to be second fiddle. And she even said it to Rick. I wasn't someone to follow. All that changes now. That's basically telling Rick, I ain't following you anymore. You will follow me. They did, Steph, but they would have never elected her to it if she didn't start taking it over. Before they ever elected her, she was sitting behind that desk talking to Jesus, and Daryl comes around the corner at the end of last season and said, Jesus, you were right. Talking to him like he was not in charge. She was already talking as if she were the leader of the Hilltop. So even before they went through the official, probably a sham election, she was already running the Hilltop. And she wanted to do it. Not that she volunteered to do it. She took it. And with that, this is, once again, this is our Walking Dead Season 9 Rick Grimes Countdown, love and hate. Just wanted to get some passionate, I will say the love and hate arguments or discussions, maybe they're not arguments, are a lot more passionate than some of the other ones. I want to say I appreciate everybody being here. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your communication. We will be streaming tonight at 8 o'clock. I know everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, Walking Dead Day. Could be some videos posted up this afternoon as well. But at a minimum, we will be back at 8 o'clock doing the Walking Dead Countdown, getting ready. Enjoy your day of football. Enjoy your day of The Walking Dead. And then tonight, after The Walking Dead, we're going to have a reaction video. And I have to tell you, I think tonight's episode is going to be the best episode that we have seen in a long, long time, if not ever. I'm putting just a bold prediction out there. I've seen the spoilers. I've seen the information that's out there, and I really feel like you're going to walk away from tonight's episode really supercharged and enjoying what's going on. So we're going to super hype it up. Get ready for the countdown at 8 o'clock tonight. And also, do not miss the reaction video because we're just going to have a lot of fun today. Thanks, everybody. Have a good Sunday afternoon, and I will see you later on tonight. Peace.